Year 2560 BC. A single miscalculation would doom the pharaoh's soul to eternal darkness. The blade must be perfect. Not sharp, not strong. Perfect. Because this is not just metalwork. This is a race against the gods themselves. Deep beneath the pyramid's shadow, where sunlight has never touched stone, the royal weapon forgers work in absolute silence. The heat is suffocating. The darkness, total. Only the sacred fire illuminates their hands. One wrong strike, and the copper collapses. One impurity, and the edge crumbles. One breath of doubt, and the pharaoh enters the afterlife defenseless. The stakes could not be higher. These are not tools of war. They are keys to eternity. And the secret to forging them begins not in fire, but in the mud of the Nile. The Nile floods every year without fail. When the waters recede, they leave behind something more valuable than gold. Copper ore, malachite green, heavy as stone, embedded in the riverbank like gifts from the gods. The miners know where to look. They have been watching the river for generations. They dig with wooden tools, stone hammers, bare hands when necessary. No iron exists yet, no steel, only copper, and the knowledge passed down through bloodlines. The ore is transported to the royal workshops under armed guard, not because of thieves, but because of its sacred purpose. This copper will become the pharaoh's eternal guardians, the blades that will defend him in the underworld, the weapons that will never rust, never fail, never betray. But first, it must be purified. The smelting chamber is a tomb of heat. Clay furnaces line the walls, each one reaching temperatures that would melt flesh from bone. The copper ore is placed inside ceramic crucibles. These are not ordinary vessels. They are crafted by the temple potters, blessed by priests, sealed with prayers. The fire must reach exactly the right temperature. Too cold, and the copper remains locked in stone. Too hot, and it burns away into smoke and ash. There are no thermometers, no gauges, only the eye and the flame. The master smelter watches the color of the fire. Orange means wait. Yellow means almost. White means now. He signals with a single raised hand. The apprentices work the bellows. Sheepskin stretched over wooden frames, pumping air into the furnace with rhythmic precision. The sound is like breathing. The fire roars to life. Inside the crucible, the malachite begins to surrender. The stone softens. The copper bleeds out, pooling at the bottom in molten rivers of red-gold light. This is the first transformation, from earth to liquid, from gift to weapon. But the copper is not yet pure. The slag rises to the surface like a skin of impurity. Black, toxic, worthless. It must be removed with absolute precision. The smelter uses a bronze rod, moving with the steadiness of a surgeon. One mistake, and the entire batch is ruined. He skims the slag away, layer by layer, until only pure, molten copper remains. The glow is hypnotic. It looks alive. It looks hungry. The copper is poured into stone molds carved with the shapes of eternity. Khopesh blades, daggers, spearheads, each one designed not for this world, but for the next. The molds are preheated to prevent cracking. The pour must be smooth. No air bubbles. No hesitation. The copper flows like water made of fire, filling every channel, every curve, every edge, and then silence. The waiting begins. Cooling is where most smiths fail. Too fast, and the copper becomes brittle, shattering at the first strike. Too slow, and the grain structure weakens, making the blade soft as clay. The royal smiths have learned to control time itself. They bury the molds in sand from the desert floor. The heat radiates outward at the exact pace the gods intended. No rushing, no shortcuts, only patience and faith. When the molds are finally opened, the blades emerge rough and incomplete. They look nothing like weapons. They look like mistakes. But the master smith sees what others cannot. He sees the potential locked inside the copper. And now, the true work begins. The forging chamber is darker than the smelting room. The only light comes from a single brazier. I'm burning with wood imported from Lebanon. Cedar, because its heat is consistent. Its smoke is clean. The blade is reheated until it glows the color of sunset. The hammering begins. Not wild, not forceful, controlled, precise, rhythmic. Each strike compresses the copper's grain structure, making it denser, stronger, more resilient. The smith works in silence. His apprentice holds the blade steady with bronze tongs. Strike, pause, strike, pause. The rhythm is meditative. The rhythm is prayer. With every blow, the blade transforms. The rough edges smooth. The curves sharpen. The weight balances. But this is not about sharpness yet. This is about structure. The internal architecture that will determine whether this blade lasts a season or survives 5,000 years. The smith rotates the blade, working every surface, every angle, every hidden weakness. He knows copper like he knows his own heartbeat. He knows when it is ready and when it is not. The blade is quenched in oil blessed by the temple priests, not water. Water is too violent for copper. Oil cools slowly, gently, preserving the work of the hammer. The blade hisses as it enters the darkness. Steam rises like the souls of the dead. When it emerges, it is no longer glowing. It is cold. It is hard. It is ready for the edge. Sharpening a copper blade is an art lost to time. The modern world has forgotten what the ancients knew. Copper does not hold an edge like steel. It requires constant maintenance, constant devotion. The grindstone is made from Nubian sandstone, imported at great expense from the south. Its grain is fine enough to polish metal without tearing it. The blade is held at exactly the right angle. On too steep and the edge chips, too shallow and it never bites. The grinder works with water dripping onto the stone, creating a paste that grinds and polishes simultaneously. The sound is haunting, a whisper of stone against metal, a promise being fulfilled. Hours pass. The edge emerges, not jagged, not crude, perfect. A line so thin it seems impossible. A curve so precise it could split a hair floating in the wind. This is the edge that will defend the pharaoh in the hall of judgment. This is the edge that will cut through the darkness of the underworld. This is the edge that will never fail. But a blade is only half the weapon. The handle must be worthy of the metal it holds. Ebony is chosen, imported from the deep south, beyond the cataracts, on from lands where the sun burns hotter than the forges of Memphis. Hard as stone, durable as time, impossible to splinter. The wood is carved by specialists who have trained since childhood. They work with copper chisels, shaping the grip to fit the pharaoh's hand exactly. Not too thick, not too thin. Perfect. The grip is wrapped in leather from the finest cattle, tanned until it is soft as cloth but strong as rope. Gold wire is wound around the base, not for decoration, for balance. Every element is calculated, every detail is intentional. Nothing exists by accident. The final step is the blessing. The blade is carried to the temple under cover of darkness. No one must see it until it is complete. The high priest performs the ritual that has been passed down since the time of the first pharaohs. He anoints the blade with sacred oils. He speaks the words that bind the weapon to its eternal purpose. He calls upon the gods to witness this creation: Anubis, guardian of the dead; Osiris, king of the underworld; Ra, who sees all. The blade is no longer just metal and wood. It is alive with divine purpose. It is ready. The weapon is placed in the burial chamber alongside the pharaoh's body, not in his hand, not at his side, above his head, pointing toward the stars. Because the journey to the afterlife is not linear, it is vertical. The blade will defend him as he ascends through the 12 gates of night. It will cut through the serpents that guard the path. It will strike down the demons that devour the unworthy. It will prove to the gods that this pharaoh is ready for eternity. And if the blade fails, if a single flaw exists in its construction, if one strike of the hammer was imprecise, if the fire was too hot or too cold, if the edge was ground at the wrong angle, the pharaoh's soul will be devoured. Eternal darkness. Forever. Years pass. Centuries. Millennia. The pyramid stands against time itself. Inside, in the darkness that has never known light, the blade remains, unchanged, uncorroded, perfect. Modern archaeologists find it and marvel. How did they achieve such precision without machines? How did copper, a soft metal, survive 5,000 years without decay? How did they know? The answer is simple and impossible. They understood that some things are not built for this world. They are built for the next. And the blades forged in sacred fire, beneath the weight of pyramids, in the absolute darkness of eternal purpose. These were never meant to be wielded by human hands. They were meant to conquer death itself. The secret lies not in the metal, but in the devotion, not in the technique, but in the faith. The ancient smiths worked with a certainty that modern science cannot replicate, that their work mattered beyond measure, beyond time, beyond the grave. Every strike of the hammer was a prayer. Every moment at the grinding stone was meditation. Every blade was a promise to the gods, and that promise still holds today. In the museums, behind glass, under artificial light, the blades wait, still sharp, still perfect, still ready, because some weapons are not forged for battle. They are forged for eternity, and the forges beneath the pyramids, and where firelight danced on stone and copper flowed like divine blood, those forges never truly went cold. They simply moved beyond our sight, into the realm where the pharaohs still reign, where the blades still defend, where the race against the gods continues. A single miscalculation would have doomed everything, but there were no miscalculations, only perfection, forged in sacred fire, tested by time itself, and that perfection still cuts through the darkness. 5,000 years later, still sharp, still watching, still waiting for the moment when the stars align and the pharaoh's soul rises, armed with the only weapon that ever mattered, the blade that conquered death.